movie, so if you have not watched it, please don't get mad when I tell the movie, because that's what I'm going to do. The movie Croods, beautiful movie. I loved it. And the reason why is because you have this family who is the Cave family, and it's 4 women, 2 guys. You have the father, you have the grandmother, the mother, the father, the son, the middle daughter, which is like a teenage daughter, and a little baby. And then you also have, of course, all the little dangers they face. And then you have this other younger guy who's not a part of the family, who's a little more refined, that comes from who knows where, somewhere, into the movie, and he helps the family go to this new place. That's the whole general idea of it. Now, what I like about the movie about it is that they put the triple goddess into it. If you pay attention, they put the triple goddess on her phases in the movie. Except they do more of a raw form. The story is based on the daughter, and the daughter is basically tired of the same old routine. You can see straight from the beginning that she wants more. She's ready to explore. You know, she has the different characters. The father representing the old consciousness. The old consciousness, the teachers, which the way she's been raised. Stuff from her root, her perspective in life. The father represents that. The brother represents the consciousness she currently has based on what the father has to it. And then you have her sister, her mother, and her grandmother. There's the triple goddess. The little sister is wild. She's primal. She's just ready to take on the world. She's like, ah, the little baby sister. That is the maiden. Granted, it's not the refined maiden that we know, but when you think about the maiden, she is their raw energy. Then you have the mother, who's, of course, the mother. And she's a little more laid back, but still a little open. And then you have the crone, who she's the grandmother. She's that old whippersnapper, and she has this phrase through the whole movie, I'm still here. And that's right, wisdom ain't going nowhere. So, and she doesn't say much during the movie, unless she has to. And that's normally what wisdom do. I don't care what spiritual teacher you have, it will always tell you that wisdom is to be sought after. It's just not going to pop up in your face. Okay. So now you have the, the understanding of the triple goddess. You have the father represents the old consciousness of the root of which she's been taught. You have the little brother who's like represents the conscious she currently has. And then you have this new dude. And this new dude represents the new consciousness that she's building. Like I said, this is my perspective. This is how I saw the movie. Now, through the movie, she battles between what her father has told her and what this new guy is showing her. So she's battling between new consciousness. And the thing that I like about it first is that she went exploring first. In the opening scenes of the movie, she wanted more. She went exploring first. And by her wanting more came to her. More came into her realm of reality. More came into her perspective. And no, it wasn't easy. Yes, at times it was full of danger, but there was times it was full of beauty too. And at the end, she is of course going with the new consciousness, the new dude, and they make it to the new world. Now, all through the movie, the father can't stand this new dude. This new dude don't know why the father can't stand him, but he doesn't stop. And the girl is playing basically the middleman between the two. And eventually the mother says something. The daughter starts to the little baby girl, which is like the maiden, starts to calm down some. And the grandmother speaks up when she wants to. Come on, we all know how elders are. So, yeah. To me, I loved it because when you, my nose tend to always do this, seem to get stopped up when I'm talking. But anyway, when you're learning new stuff, or when your current situation isn't enough anymore and new information starts to come in, you go through this phase where you're battling what you know, what you're used to, and what you're learning. So it's like, sometimes then once you've done that battle, you go through this phase where you're trying to blend the two as if it's going to work together. And when you try to blend the two, it normally puts you through a mini hell. And so to speak, a hell, so to speak. And you're trying to take this new information, and it's like the Bible says, you can't put new wine in old wineskins. You're trying to take this new information and try to put it in this old thought process, but it doesn't work with that thought process. Examples, and you could do examples all types of way. If all I knew, I was raised in Philadelphia, and yes, I'm letting out a lot more of my business that I did in the videos, but like I said, this is what this channel is going to be about. Yeah. So I was raised in Philadelphia. So coming from, and I'm saying this as an example to get, in case you need more to understand how I see this movie. So I was raised in Philadelphia, and then I moved to Florida. Now coming from Philadelphia, that's a city, not really compared to other cities, not really that big, but it's if you know where to go, it doesn't sleep. It's always something to do. It's always somewhere to go. It's always something going on, always, and it's always something going on around the clock. So when we first got to Florida, first of all, I'm not used to everything shutting down once it get dark. That don't happen in Philly. When it shut down, when it start getting dark, that's the time to party. There's so many places to go. Not saying that there isn't places to go down here. I mean, like in the neighborhood, like in Philly, you get dark, everybody's still and I'm pretty sure there's neighborhoods around here that do it. It just ain't mine. But you know, it's still very loud. People are outside, they're having a good time, they're playing their music, they're talking. Yes, there's drama and stuff like that, but not like the news make it. People, please back up off the news a little bit. But anyway, not like the news make it. It's fun. You know, so when I first got down here in the neighborhood that I was, screw the dark time. During the day, there was nobody outside. Like, I literally went through a phase, I think about 2 months, where I used to walk to and from the window, and people, I hate calling him my husband, but I'll call him Bear, because that's his nickname anyway. Bear, as well as my sister, would look at me and go, "What are you doing? Sit your behind down somewhere." And I'm like, I'm just not used to this. I'm so used to, oh, look outside, who's outside? Okay, go outside, go sit outside. And first of all, it's not even, like Philly, you got steps. You sit outside on your steps. Ain't no steps out here. You got to take a chair outside with you. Now, I know they may seem crazy, but anybody else came from the north to the south, you know what I'm talking about. We got steps to sit on. We sit on steps. That's why we have a neighborhood. We have our porch. Sometimes we have our chairs on the porch, but you also got the step option. We don't have it down here. You either have your chair or you're on the ground. Totally different from me. So with that, I kept trying to blend the two. Sitting outside at night, you know, down here in Florida, but at the same time, people working, like in Philly, they don't care about, you know, they gotta go to work, but they still, it's just, they're hard sleepers. It's just, you know, it's part of life. Down here is very quiet, so if you sit outside having a conversation, that actually bothers your neighbors down here. I had to get used to that. I'm not used to that. So, you know, trying to blend it, so I had to eventually just let that go. When I let that go, it became much easier, and I was able to accept Florida for what it was, for the beautiful city that it is. I love where I live. I ain't gonna lie, I love where I live now. But I had to get used to it. So, and then in getting used to it, as I explored more of Florida, I was able to let go more of Philly. It's still in my roots, that's where I'm from. But in, you know, exploring, like the girls in the movie, the more she explored with the guy, the more she was able to let go of what her father told her, and realize, not saying that what her father told her was wrong, it worked for where they was at, but it doesn't work for where they were going. And that's the main part when I got out the movie, the transition. The girl represents the young woman, the spirit, and I love that a lot of movies now are coming out with the female as the main character. They're bringing the feminine energy back, but that's a whole nother video. But anyway, so the girl's going through this phase, and she has this old conscious in the battle with the new conscious, and she tries to blend it, doesn't work, and yes, the new consciousness, because it's still a new conscious, puts her in situations that she's not used to. Now, he knows how to handle the situations, but she doesn't, so she really has to rely on what she's currently learned from him, the new information, and learn with that. And if anything, once you learn something, you got to experience what you learned. Like, even if you're reading a book, eventually you have to apply it. That's what I'm looking for. She had to apply what she learned and trust in what she currently knew, and not go back to doing what she was going to do. And there is a part in the movie where if she would have went back into her old nature as her own consciousness represented by her father, tried to get her to do, they would have died. They would have died. And okay, eventually in the movie, you know, the old consciousness died out. And what I mean by died out, I mean, in the movie, the father going along with the rest of the family and seeing that, you know, that it's okay or whatever, represented the old consciousness dying out and letting the new conscious take over, and understanding that, you know, for where they're going and this life, this is what needs to be done. And it actually found a way to work with the new consciousness and work with that new information, which also represents a lot of times, just because we're doing something new, you don't forget your root. Your root is always there. So you let go of things in your root that no longer serves you, but you keep the things that have kept you alive and that's basically a part of you. And instead of forcing your new information into this little box, you open up that box, and you just basically open up the box, basically. Instead of forcing it, and you open up the box and you take stuff out the box. That's what I'm looking for. You take stuff out of the box that'll work with this new consciousness, and whatever else you just throw away. So it's just like moving into a new house. When you move to a new house, you realize you never take everything in that old house to the new house. You always end up cleaning stuff, finding stuff that shouldn't be there, you throw it away. And to me, this movie represented all that. I love that. I get the fact about how they advertised the movie. They did advertise the movie different ways to different cultures. If you don't know, research that. They did do that. The characters are not ethnic. For them to be the original family as they're advertised in America, the characters have no real ethnic background, but they did show they're supposed to be wild and untamed and blah, 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 blah. But that worked for them. Looking at a deeper spiritual side of it, that's the consciousness that worked for them for where they was at. But they had to let go of that, represented by the little girl who's going through all that, in order to work with what they were doing, because that consciousness was dying out. It wasn't working. The environment wasn't even working with it no more. So yeah, that's my take on the Croods. It was beautiful. The little girl represented the spirit to me. She represented herself, the triple goddess, the spirit, the mind, and the body. To me, all in one. Seeking for new information. I could bring the scripture again. Spirit seeks night and day. So she was seeking for new information. She found new consciousness represented by the little boy, and she had to have the battle between the old and new consciousness. And then finally she goes and gives it to the old new consciousness, which is what we're always doing. You're not supposed to be stagnant. You're always supposed to be learning something new. And when you learn something new, that heavy, there is a battle. Well, not even that heavy. Even something as little as cooking. You know, you used to put in seasoning salt. I'm gonna keep it real for a lot of us. We used to put in seasoning salt. As you start getting healthier, you use much less seasoning salt and start using more herbs. But as you're learning the new herbs and what tastes good with what, you still want to try to sprinkle that seasoning salt. And after a while, your taste buds get all retarded, and that seasoning salt don't even taste good to you no more. So you still end up doing it, but now it don't even taste good. And yeah, so like I can use so many examples for this. So many examples for this. But I'm already at 16 minutes, so I'm going to shut it down right here. And this was just a sample of what's